settled and taking you through the trip.
Yeah, I wish we could have broke better, but what are you going to do? You play the race, and then he was great. Settled in, asked him, he responded. Everything was great. Yeah, good first time.
Yeah, I mean, how about him too finishing down the lane? I
He
mean,
was
that
good.
horse.
He once he got in front of that leader, I read, he kind of lugged in, but that's first time. He kind of taken that space. He was kind of like, where is everybody, you know? And then I just hand rode him after that just to keep him forward.
Galloped out good and everything like that.
Yep.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
All right, great job, Dylan.
Thanks,
Thanks, brother. Congrats, man.
What a way to start the day, that particular day at Saratoga. That was Carson's run. And I have Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds with me to discuss this colt and other exciting 2-year-olds on the West Point roster. But let's start with this one because there's just such an incredible story behind this colt's name. And I'm going to let you just roll with it.
Well, thanks, Ren. I appreciate the opportunity to be on. It's really cool. I'm a big fan of the podcast too, by the way. I watch it almost every time. So,
thank you.
But Carson's run, I have a buddy, a good buddy. We met within the first couple of days of the time we got to West Point. Wade Yost, he lives on the West Coast, and he has a son who has the exact same condition as Cody in the Cody's Wish form, and he didn't really know about the Cody's Wish story until he saw on Derby Day when he was Cody's Wish was on the undercard, and he saw it, and as soon as he saw Cody's face, he said, "I know he has the same condition as Carson." So that kind of opened him up, and you know he had been threatening to buy a horse. You know, he owns a defense company. He's been threatening to own a horse for a long time, and finally we restarted the talks, and I thought this would be a perfect colt for him. So anyway, the family was all there. Carson is now 31 years old. So Wade and his family have taken great care of him for 31 years. And while he's probably not as advanced as Cody in his development on the mental side, they give him a lot of love, and I know he sends a lot of love back to the family. I know they enjoyed the heck out of the ride that they got the first time at Saratoga.
It's so special, and God bless them. I was watching this from my couch at home, and it was just one of those moments. It just felt so good to see this colt win determinedely like that to get there. What was the afterglow like with that particular?
It was great. It was great. They were, he could barely speak. In fact, I say barely. He's. You think about these parents, and you think about what they go through and their responsibilities day in and day out without any vestige of breaks, and you just have to send them good vibes and God's grace on a regular basis, and I know that's what we've all done to try to help Wade. But to think that a horse and a race was able to inject some joy into their family situation is over the top good.
Was there any added pressure with his debut? Did you really know this horse was primed to win first out?
Christophe Clement and we've been together for a long time, and the last thing he said when I left the barn that morning is he said, "I wish I had another work or two into this colt." So, usually that in that trainer speak, we've been doing it for 32 years. So I think we're a little bit more adept at interpreting the trainer speak. So I thought he run well. I was a little surprised he ran as well as he did, but you love that when you still have a sense that, those one or two works, if he would have had those, he would have been even more impressive. So look, we got to step up and we got to beat a group of winners in our next start, but it certainly is exciting.
It really is. Congratulations again on that win. What a moving moment that was. Before we get to the West Point horses, I want to talk a little bit about the 2-year-old graded stakes action we saw this past weekend, because as you've laid out, I mean, you've been in this for a very long time. You know what you're looking at. You know quality, that is for sure. So let's go ahead first and talk about the Saratoga Special, where we saw Rhyme Scheme get in there. I mean, this is a son of Ghost Zapper, Breeders' Cup Classic champ, holds the record for the fastest classic run that was back at Lone Star in 2004, I believe. And then the mom here, she's from the family of Malthat. So that's Dreaming of Julia, all those great horses. But when he debuted, he won by 9.5 lengths. He matched that margin with winning the Saratoga Special. Debut, he had, I believe, a 94 Buyer. Buyer didn't come back as exciting this time, but the horse was geared down. This is for Pura Vida Investments. Ricardo Santana Jr. was aboard. What did you think?
Well, I can't believe it, but am I going to have to correct you on that? I think that was his second start when he won by 9, right?
Well, no, I think this. You know what? You might be right. Hey, I mean, look it up.
Check it out, but nonetheless, I thought the Saratoga Special. I mean, that was sensational. The way when he changed leads and he drew away. You know, I always like to think of, you know, separation, and the really good ones, they're just like the wide receivers in the NFL. They can separate, and he was separated from that field in a split second, and it was he's a beautiful mover. He's a beautiful horse, and I give a lot of credit. You know, Deuce Greathouse, you know, has that partnership, and you know, Spider Dunnigan and those guys, and I saw them at the sale, and I was like, man, it's a great thing to have a 2-year-old. I'm not sure we've ever had one that impressive. So I said, I hope we get one in that zone. But
you were totally right. You were totally right. He was 6th on debut. That was at Churchill Downs. Then he won at Ellis and put up that, you know, big margin of victory. So you were correct. Thank you for that. See, this is what I love. Like, you can real-time correction is fabulous, because there are times I'll go back and I'll watch the show and I'll say, oh no, I said this wrong, but there's no going back because nobody corrected me. Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, it's a really cool thing to see a horse like this, especially for somebody who's, you know, been in it for so long, but is yet still so young with Norm, right?
Yeah, and he's a rising star. You know, we've never had any horses with him, and he's always been a gentleman. But I like the fact that he's, you know, as you might well imagine, there are some trainers that you just kind of shake your head, because every time they put the hustle on. And look, trainers, they need horses from owners. I get it. But Norm's always been such a pro, and you know, I would hope that someday we have a situation we'll be able to get some horses together. But I know one thing, he's starting to turn heads, and I know John Hendrickson has horses and really has supported them from the very beginning, and all those guys. So I think he's a person. He's a horse to watch. You replace horse with trainer. He's a trainer to watch.
I love it. And the thing I kind of noticed with this colt, he looks like he's just like all leg. And so I wonder if he even continues to grow, at least when he's coming down the stretch. It just looks like there are these long legs coming at you. I haven't seen him up close and personal, but so it'll be exciting to see where he goes. And I believe, if you know, provided everything goes smoothly, the hopeful is the next logical step for him.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the grade 3 Sorrento. That's Dreamfire. She is a first crop representative of Flame Away. You have a Flame Away on the roster. We'll talk about that horse in just a bit. She won again, the Sorrento. This is for owner Danny Eplin. Oh my goodness. I hope I don't mess up the pronunciation. It's one thing when you read it, but it's another thing when you say it. Yeah. OJ Harigi. There we go.
OJ Horigi.
Horigi. There we go. Thank you so much.
OJ Horigi.
Saving me again. And then Hector Barrios aboard. And it's kind of fun to see what these freshman sires are doing with the crop. And I think Flame Away is doing mighty well.
Yes. So I was at a meeting earlier in the meet, and John, not John Ward, he raced Flame Away. He's a client of Mark Cassidy. I'm drawing a blank on.
Now I'll look up Flame Away.
But anyway, John, you know, they had a couple Red Maiden Special winners, and there was starting to be a little bit buzz, and I just love, because I don't know, he's probably in his 80s, probably 86 or 87. And I just thought, how cool is that for somebody like that that's put so much into the game? And he just had a glow about him talking about his stallion. And I know John Phillips, you know, he's really proud of the horse. He's gotten off to a good start. We were very impressed with him at the 2-year-old sale. So, and OJ, we had a horse with him probably 15 years ago or so. And I always see him. He's always got a smile on his face. And it was the coolest thing. The coolest thing. They interviewed him on the racetrack right before, as the horse was coming back to the to the winner's circle, and he was choked up. And you know, it had been a long time since OJ had won a graded stake race, and I just thought it was the coolest thing to see a person that I know works hard 365 days a year kind of get the spotlight on him. So I send kudos out to him and his team.
No, absolutely. And, you know, fun thing, Flame Away was in Mark's barn. I remember seeing him before he won the Bourbon, I believe. And I was so taken with how much of a ham he was. He's got like a fun personality. At least this is before he goes to stud, because we all know once they go to stud, it's anybody's guess how they'll behave after that. But he was just very sweet. He loved posing for the cameras, and it's fun to see him now at stud and also carrying through that Scat Daddy sire line, because Scat Daddy is one of those horses that always is going to feel like he was gone too soon.
He definitely was. He definitely was. Obviously, he was in South America for a while, so you still see him, but you don't see enough of him. And that was a stallion gone way too soon.
I know, and it's just like I said, we at least have horses like this. We've got Justify, who's a Scat Daddy. I don't know, for some reason, I feel like people forget that he's got that burst. I think that's why we're seeing international success with Justify, is because these horses can run on anything, and you're getting that versatility from that sire line. And I just think it's very, very impressive. Now, going on to the Best Pal Stakes, we had a Baffert Exacta. A lot of people were backing Muth, but it was actually Prince of Monaco who put up 103 buyer with the victory there under Flavian Pratt. That it's the big, long ownership group. Y'all know who y'all are. And so, but to run it down quickly, Starlight, Medicaid, Stone Street, Diane Bashur, SF, Robert Masterson, Waves Edge Capital, Catherine Donovan, and Tom Ryan. 109 in 19/100. So it's the fastest 6 furlongs run at Del Mar this meet. This horse is, I believe, a son of Speightstown, who won the 2004 Breeders' Cup Sprint. But he's got some stamina there on the bottom side. So what were your impressions of that race?
Obviously, I knew Muth from the 2-year-old sale. Yeah. That Speightstown was sold last year at Saratoga. And so, he's got 2 more to add to the arsenal out there, that have been added, not to add, have been added to the arsenal. And he's a tough customer. We got a bunch of 2-year-olds out there, but you just shake your head and you give that team a lot of credit. They've had an immense amount of success, and I'm sure they're looking to continue it. And I'm sure there's some other horses in there that we haven't even heard about.
Isn't that the crazy thing? Isn't that the crazy thing?
It is.
It's with every season, hope. There's new hope to see who's going to really come out there and shine. Now, moving, of course, to your own roster. Oh, real quick, we have some comments for you. Richard says, "Good afternoon. Big fan of West Point Flightline. How can you not be?" And Carson, absolutely. Richard goes on to say, "Is it true you married your high school sweetheart?" Mr. Finley, and been in the business 32 years. Congrats on Gallon Rush. She's won her last 2 at Saratoga. Saw you on TV Friday.
Yeah, and it is true. It is true. She's sitting across the deck from me. So we get a shot to be in Saratoga for the most part the whole month. And I agree with you. We're also big fans of Flightline.
That's right. Well, we can talk about him if you want to. Anderson Andrella. Hearts and stars. Thank you so much, Anderson. And Gustavo says, hi, my name is Gustavo from Chile. I love the Breeders' Cup. Say hello, you two. Hi, Gustavo. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to chime in. Also, this is a live show, and you've got one of the best in the business sitting right beside me here. So if you have questions about the industry, getting into ownership, pedigrees, anything, Terry's your guy. Okay, so let's talk about this because you have a tremendous roster. As I counted it, I believe there are 60 two-year-olds just alone. That's not the entire roster of horses, but 60 two-year-olds. And you just got done picking up some yearlings. So I didn't do all the legwork on that one yet. If you have legwork on that you want to share about the yearlings you picked up, by all means, feel free to share that as well. Some point in the show where you feel it fits. But let's just take it from the top. You've got a great stable of trainers, absolutely, too. And all, coast to coast. You got Amendment with Cherie DeVoe, an American Pharaoh colt with her, who is a very nice looking horse. He's got to wait till he gets to the track. Oraculus just had one start. We're going to see where she goes. Belvoir recently ran 5th in a New York bred main special weight with Christophe. That's a filly. Bourbon's Fault. This horse is yet to run, but a son of Blame and really great pedigree. This is out of Moon Metal. It's the family of Gold Beauty, Sky Beauty, Maple Jinsky, Violence, who's the sire of Forte. It's a really great pedigree, and he is with Dallas Stewart at Churchill. How's he doing?
Actually, very well, very well. He's the perfect kind of horse that we've sent to Dallas over the years. A big strapping horse who's probably going to run in September. I just talked to Dallas about an hour ago. We ran second up in Indy, and so we've been together, I think, 28 years. So I always say we've occupied a stall in Dallas, at least one stall every single day with Dallas Stewart for the last 28 years.
I love it. Well, I mean, here's the colt here, Bourbon's Fault. Nice horse. He had real balanced. What do you anticipate is the kind of condition you're going to look for him in which to debut?
Yeah, I think he's a 2-turn horse, so we'll probably go 3/4 on the dirt at Churchill and see if he shows enough to go to Keeneland. So, I mean, I think we'll probably send a bigger string to Oaklawn in the winter, not instead of going at a fairgrounds, but obviously with the purses, I think Oaklawn's going to attract more and more people out there. So that's what we're thinking about with a horse like that.
I haven't been there yet, but Matt has had a blast the last few times he's gone. Great hospitality, great racing. Moving along, Candy Ride colt. This one is out of Mighty Arrows with Todd Pletcher, half to graded stakes winner Fabian.
Yeah, we bought him at the April sale with the Spendthrift boys, and they actually bought the horse. We had taken them a long way. I'm not sure we were the underbidder, maybe we were the second underbidder, and we've done a bunch of things together. I think the first horse we bought together was in 2011. We bought a nice horse by the name of Freedom Child, who was a graded stakes horse, and so we've always we love to partner with those with operations like that, and so this horse is at Churchill with Todd Pletcher, and hopefully we're looking at sometime early fall to see him run.
Baby's got back, I will say. So here we go. Moving along, we talked about Carson's run. One of the things we did not discuss, though, was the fact that he, on top of showing such talent, he's got a pedigree on him too. He's by Cupid. He's at a Hot and Hectic. She's a half to rated R superstar. The family also includes grade 1 winner Speech. So obviously there was the genetic backing there to see the talent that he did end up putting on display.
Absolutely. And Cupid is a horse that while it didn't get a lot of acclaim early on, I think he's going to really have to fight his way through. The traffic in front of him is dense, right? We all know that for all these stallions that try to start out and they've got to make their mark. But I like him, and certainly if he throws a progeny like this colt, he's going to have as good of a shot as any at his level.
No, it's exciting for sure. there was a fan favorite horse named Barkley, and you actually have a half to this horse and to Wit as well, by City of Light. This one is with Todd Pletcher. So that's kind of fun. Todd trained Wit.
Todd did, and we loved this horse last year at the September sale, and I realized we were there again. I mean, I'm not sure we're the underbidder, but we were close, and so Vinny Viola, who we assisted, bringing into the game in 2011. Mike Rapoli ended up. I wasn't surprised that they were very live on him, and we took a small piece of him. He's at Ocala Stud, and he's not that far away from coming up to Todd. So, very, very excited. I thought Wit was a top class horse, and was very, very precocious. Then he ended up, running and being successful on the grass. So, you got some options with a horse like this. I think City of Light, while he attracted a lot of attention. I think we bought 5 or 6 of them in his first crop. I think he's a horse that's a stallion that's on the come. I really do. And not unexpectedly, he's on a path that was not unexpected. Everybody knew he wasn't going to be early, but they're starting to get their act together. And I think there's a good shot you'll be hearing from him more and more as the months go on and his 3-year-olds get into the fall of the 3-year-old year.
I really agree with that. I definitely do. Sometimes you got to give it time. What was it? I laughed still because we were just talking about Norm Cassie, and I remember when I had him on the show, he was talking about when he first basically declared his interest in Gabby and how he wanted to go about it, and he kind of asked her out, and he told somebody, "I'm just going to let it marinate," or she just needs to let it marinate. Is what he said. And I thought that was hilarious, but it's so true. There's a lot of things you need to let marinate, including stallions and seeing what their progeny can do. And, there's such a rush to get the return on investment right away that a lot of times, I mean, sometimes they just sneak out at too. I mean, I think Wooten Bassett started his stud career at a low number, but like people started seeing over time horses coming through. And sometimes I think you see horses start sort of a high, then there's a dip, and then there's an adjustment.
Sure. Yeah, that seems to be the process. And right, time is the biggest warrior is a quotation that quite a few trainers use, and owners, more and more owners should use and should kind of get their arms around, because it is, there's nothing like time in the racehorse business and also in the breeding business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, another horse that you have is Commodore. He was 5th on debut. It was going 7.5 on turf. This is a colt with Cherie DeVoe. This is at Ellis Park. Obviously, it's just the first start of the career, so there's upside. And I believe it was bumped out at the start. I have to watch it again. But really nice looking horse, and they sometimes just need to put together.
Yeah, he broke in a tangle. A good education, but that you. So you have a little bit of an excuse there, and now he's got to make a little bit more progress, and all signs that he will do exactly that. And certainly with that pedigree, he's by Curlin, and out of a good, he's got a good family, and we're expecting big things from him. And I think he's just now starting to figure it out and put some things together.
Like I said, I mean, it's just a matter. Sometimes they just need that. I have video here of Concord Bridge working with Indispensable. These are 2-year-olds. Concord Bridge, he's not yet started, by McDagley de Oro. Mom here's a half to multiple stakes winners, among them American Theorem. And with John Sadler at Santa Anita. And then Indispensable, scrolling down here because I have it in alphabetical order. This one is yet to start as well, by Constitution, out of High Performer. She is from the family of Wicked Strong. So 2 really well-bred horses. I'll share the screen here and y'all can watch them kind of in action. They're working together. And I got to say, again, y'all do such a great job. And I'm sure the pressure's on when you have, partners. They want to see what these horses are doing, what they look like. And you really do, again, a great job of keeping everybody informed who's part of West Point.
Yeah, I think that's important for us all to do. And I'd like to think we've we've played a part in it. That's my message to trainers and to other partnership owners and managers is, people put their hard-earned money into the game to buy partnership shares or to buy entire horses. And, you basically, we're in show business. That's what I say. And we've got to take care of people. And that's one of the things. Obviously, there's too much time between the truly exciting parts of our business, i.e., the racing side, and when they get entered and when they actually run and the race day experience. So you got to do everything you can to make sure that those gaps are as entertaining as possible. But, I think with these two in particular, you just have to, one of the things that we realize and we try to help educate partners is 1 week a horse could be all over another one and just really dominate. And the next week they finish together and they look like they could hit the wire together in a race, and the following week it'd be flipped. And that's what they're 2-year-olds. So if you look at some of our videos, you'd see two horses that you couldn't believe it'd be only a month apart when they're with their breezes. And that's a good thing about having really experienced trainers and breeze riders and the like, is we're not in a big hurry with these horses. We know that if they're destined to be good horses, we want to make sure that they have every shot possible. As we talked about earlier, time is it. Time is the one thing that above and beyond anything else, you give them time, you make good decisions. They're going to get to the level that they're supposed to be, especially if they don't get unlucky.
Yeah, and that's so important. I mean, you speak to anybody who has had any kind of meaningful success in this business, and one of the most important things they'll say you can ever do for a horse is to give them time. Everybody. It's the ones who try to rush it, and it's like you can't rush a flower blooming, right? I mean, you might be able to, right? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically in the same, vein of that with the horses. And when you're talking about, also going back to you saying you like to keep things interesting, you're keeping it very interesting. Backing up alphabetically, one of the horses that you have on the roster is Imminent Bliss. And this is a practical joke filly out of Malibu Gem. And she's from the family of Mike and Questa Dory and Kelly Kipp. And this one is with Christophe Clement, and she's at Fairhill right now, I guess. But you have something fun going on. So I'll put the picture of her up and you explain this interesting contest you've put forth for your partners.
Yeah, we bought her at the main Saratoga sale last year. Practical Joke certainly wasn't as hot as he is now. Yeah. I mean, they are running, and they're running all over the country, and they have been. He's had an incredible year. And so, my team that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud to be part of the team. They run a contest on both coasts, and the winner gets a little piece without any bills of this filly, and out on the West Coast, the same thing. So it's cool. It's cool. It's amazing the number of responses that we get. People trying to, to pick the right connections as they go through the meets on the East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll talk about the colt who's part of this contest at Del Mar. But also I want to back up alphabetically because there's another horse we should talk about. And that's Gold Aspen. This is another horse who's not yet started by Looking at Lucky out of Shawnee Moon. This one is with Brad Cox. Go ahead and I'll share this. I'll find the picture here and you can talk about him.
Yep. Yeah. Beautiful horse. We bought him at the OBS April sale. And I couldn't be happier with him. Got some NFL announcers in on him, and
really,
got some people that are very prominent inside and outside the industry. So it's just cool. It's cool. Took a little bit of time. Had some shins right coming out of the sale, which oftentimes you don't know. They don't manifest themselves until say a week or 10 days later. So we just wanted to make sure we gave him a bunch of time. And I know Brad asked me about him just the other day up here at Saratoga. So won't be long before he's in. Actually, within the next couple of days, he'll be at Brad's barn, and I would think he's probably mid to late fall. We'll see him at the races.
Oh wow! Look at that shoulder, everybody. That's a beautiful laid back shoulder. It's got to be so fun to like wake up and get all the reports on how the horses are doing. It's like I don't want to make it too in line with your child, but it's not so far removed.
No, I know what you mean. What you don't want is those text messages.
I know.
All they say is call me.
Oh gosh, no, you don't want that.
That's usually not a good thing. We, obviously with the number of horses that we have, we're going to get those on a fairly regular basis.
No.
But look, it's we just have a bigger team, and in this business, you're not limited by the league on how many you can have. So we have a big roster, and but you're right. It is very, very cool to see the operation with the trainers and the horses and my team, but importantly the partners that come in with us. So look, we just have to get a little lucky.
No, well, you've got lots of opportunities here. I'm just going to briefly just list some horses because again, we don't have time to go over every single one in depth. But you have Cugino. Did I say that one right? Is it Cugino?
It's Cugino.
Twirling Candy horses are running. This one's out of Adorable Miss, a colt with Shug McGahee. You've got, and that horse is not yet started. Depiction. I thought this was a really good debut that he had. I should have pulled the replay up because he had a lot of trouble to overcome. Ran fourth. This is going a mile on the turf. Buy More Than Ready, so a limited edition. Transita, the mom, half sister to Hawkbill and Free Drop Billy. So you've got this versatility in there as well. With Cherie DeVoe. Don't Be Bashful. This is a horse yet to start by Liam's Matt. Out of Stowe White. And it's the family of Sot Sass, My Sister Charlie, My Sister Nat. Just tremendous pedigree with Christophe Clement. Dual Guru by Enticed. I loved it. It's tricky. Enticed mom. I loved her. That was such a gutty mare. I remember when she fell out of the gate basically at Saratoga and she still ran and she just, I don't know, she had a lot of heart and I really wish we would have seen more foals from her. But the fact we got Enticed from her was really cool to see. And so I'm rooting for him as a stallion. This one's out of Tenz's Idea with Greg Foley at Churchill. We got Final Boss. You got to love a name like that because there's the anticipation that he's got to be really good because you fight the final boss in any video game. This is a colt by American Pharaoh out of Screaming Skylar. The mom is a full sister to Bel Air Beauty. He's with John Sadler. I know you were mentioning to me earlier off camera that this is a horse you're pretty excited about.
Yeah, he's not that far away from running. You can see his works on XBTV and or our website. So yeah, it looks like he's really got quite a bit of talent. So we'll see how he stacks up against some of those Baffert horses. You're very rare that you look at an overnight with a 2-year-old at Del Mar and you don't have Baffert in the entries, but that's okay. I think we've got some guns out there as well.
Yeah. Another horse. This one's a filly with Cherie is Ghost Rider. This is another horse with sort of that comic book name. And this one's out True Elegance. The grandmother here, Sovereign Champion Sealy Hill, and the mom is a half to Cambier Park. So another really good pedigree, especially with these fillies too. You have that added comfort of if the race career doesn't work out, you have the broodmare value. And is this is this something that the partners understand? I mean, when you're looking at the demographic of who makes up a lot of the West Point partners, are they people who really know the ins and outs? Do you have a mix? Do you have people who really don't know? They're just leaving it to you guys to take care of? Or
I think a little bit of a cross section of all three of those tranches that you just brought up, Ren. And we're getting more and more in each one of them. Even people that have been part of the business, doing it themselves. They don't want to leave the business. They love the business, but for any number of reasons, right? Usually it's got a dollar sign attached to it. It's a lot more expensive to buy really quality horses,
That's for
quality
sure.
prospects. It's a lot more expensive to, keep them in training at, major league tracks. So that's what I think the partnerships across the country are starting to see is, people see the big entities and the big owners that are doing it, and they're saying, why can't we do it at the middle range, in the middle range? And I think it's great. I really do. And I think by and large, I don't think it's hurt the sale prices. And I think it's, really good for the consigners in the sense that I know the initial impression was, well, we're combining the buying pool, which I understand that. And I don't think anybody knows that for sure, but you're also, by combining, basically people pool their money, so they're able to buy more horses. So I think everything works out in the wash.
Yes. There's probably, though, I would think for you, going back to the phrase added pressure, when you've had the success that you've had and you have this longstanding and well-deserved reputation, to continue to deliver year after year, especially after you had a horse like Flightline, right?
Yeah, I had a really a long time partner and a friend, John Fazzola. I think the first horse we ran at Saratoga, the first horse we ran at Saratoga, she was a maiden 25, just hadn't turned out, and she ran fifth, got beat about 12 lengths. So the next morning, John, right, who's never at a loss to try to take a shot and try to rib me a little bit, he said, "How do you go from that horse or from Flightline to that horse?" And I was like, "That's a great question. I don't know if I have gone from that, but yeah, you're right. Look, it's about winning, and by and large, people don't care what you did last year.
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's will always hopefully be associated with the name, with the brilliance that was Flightline. But partners that are coming in that are new, they're not as concerned with Flightline as one might think. They're concerned about buying into a well-managed horse, and I think that's probably the best way that we've approached it as a team. Is you better not rest on your laurels, or you better not be back on your heels in this business, because we all know what happens when that happens.
Oh, yes. And you're not. I mean, but I would think that it gives you also the incentive. When you're doing this so often and year after year, and you start to really get the sense and get into the rhythm of what is the type, but anything can go wrong at any point too. So even you can be as confident as you can possibly be that you've spotted an athlete, but it's still a long road to get them in the gate, let alone into the winner's circle.
It is. And, I think we're better at the auctions, because the auction theory side of our business, you just have to know when to hold them and when to fold them and everything in between, to bring up that famous song. And so, look, I've always been, and I think I probably, got this from my time in the Army. Like, one of the great things about our military is that, a core tenet of being in the military is you always have to get better, and you always have to learn. There's always something to learn. And I'd like to think that, the team that I'm part of, like, we're not afraid to talk about the things that we learn and the things that we need to learn. And so it's great. And, basically, I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't learn something new in the business. And I've been in it for literally, I've been in the business for 48 years. Right? I started when I was a 12-year-old kid.
You don't look it.
And nope,
We're keeping you young.
Yep, it does. And so that's always a great thing when you step back at the end of the day. You said, I had never seen that before. And we've seen a couple of things up here at Saratoga that no one, even the old timers, have ever seen. And you're like, it happens. So it's crazy. You never stop learning in this business.
What do you think is one of the most impactful things that you have learned recently?
Maybe I'll tell you one thing that has had a huge impact on me. Right, 2 weeks ago today, I went to the museum, and Heiza conducted a jockey mental health
Oh, yeah.
symposium. And I don't know, you probably read about it, but when you step back and you think about the things that jockeys go through and the challenges that they have every single day, they have to make, a lot of them have to cut weight. They're food deprived. They have to worry about, especially up here, entertaining clients. They always have to have a smile on their face. They have to try to come in between the owner and the trainer. Right, most of the time the horse just isn't good enough or fast enough to win a race, and they have to play that game. And as we've seen, unfortunately, earlier this year, you had two young riders that took their own lives. Right, both of their parents were there at the symposium. So, I know that's gonna continue. That's gonna build. There'll be some hotlines that are specifically for jocks. There'll be more mental health training and exposure to the real problems. And I just walked out of there, and I've never been one to beat up jockeys, but you know what? I think that's one of the things I convey to owners and trainers. Like, don't beat up on jockeys, on jocks. Like, they're doing their best. If they make a bad decision, like, we've won plenty of races where other riders have made mistakes, quote unquote mistakes. And once in a while we get beat because the jock probably made a wrong decision. He put us in a spot that we shouldn't have been. It all works out in the wash. Yeah. So you can't take all the credit when you win because a jock made a good move or another one made a wrong move that benefited you. It all just works out. And so when you say, what have you learned? I think it's been very clear to me just how lucky we are to have these jocks in our midst. And, I just endeavor, and I committed when I walked out of that symposium, like, to try to be part of enhancing the lives of jocks at the top end, but I think more importantly at the middle and the lower end. So that's the answer to the question. What have I learned?
Well, no, I think it's so important. I actually had Tyler Gaffalione on that day, and he had attended the symposium. And I was talking about how I grew up on a thoroughbred breeding farm, and I showed horses, but what they do is so different. And to be, like, as you were talking about, not only do you have to maintain weight, you have to maintain mental acuity while you're maintaining weight, which can be hard, right? Because if you're cutting calories, you have to be mindful of, now with certain rules in different jurisdictions regarding the crop, you have to be mindful of pace. You have to be mindful of, where's the spot going to open up? Might it close on you? I mean, there's just so many things you don't know. Imagine being on the highway, everybody, and you're in 5 lanes and everybody's just going for broke, trying to get to their destination first. And then see how and you're in you're on your tippy toes, And that's the thing they don't get, because in equestrian sports, the foundation of any riding is dressage. Even if you're doing a different discipline, the same fundamentals apply. If you go and you read Xenophon, who is the Greek father of basically equestrian etiquette, he talks about these fundamentals, and there are certain things that jockeys cannot utilize that we do in the equestrian world. They cannot use their seat. They can't sit in the saddle. And that's a huge part of communicating with the horse. So to me, I'm always marveling at what they do, because I couldn't do that. I consider myself a pretty good equestrian. I can't do what they do. I cannot do what they do. It really is something, as you were saying, I wish more people would just take the time and realize what they're doing is so extremely difficult. It's like walking a tightrope every day, every race, and they go out there and they do it. And we wouldn't have a sport without them. So no, I think that,
they do. And, I think the other thing that's significantly impacting their careers is the decrease in the foal crops. When you have 4 and 5 horse fields, like unfortunately has happened up here. Now, a lot of them are off the turf. So it just, you get lucky with an MTO or a horse that a trainer keeps in, a turf horse that they keep in. But by and large, we have the average per race has decreased. And, usually the top 4 or 5 guys or people or riders are coming out of the room almost every race. So you basically have the same amount of riders that are picking up scraps. And so you're right. There are a lot of things that come into play. So my advice to owners and to bettors and to trainers is, man, just put your arm around those riders, man. And if they get back safe, win, lose, or draw, just say thank you very much, and have a great day. And that's what I've tried to do is, these guys need our help, and we got to give it to them. It's important.
No, I absolutely agree. And I'll ask you more about what maybe you are in, and perhaps in a role to maybe help give some insight or consultation to with a position to which you've been elected, but we'll get to that in just a bit. Going back to the 2-year-old roster, and I do see comments over here, everybody. I will get to those as well. So we've got, let's see, where did I leave off? Okay. So we talked about Gold Aspen. Happy Gray. This is the one who the grandmother's QE2 winner, Sweet Talker. That family include me out, and check the label. This is a Run Happy colt out of Calista with Steve Asmussen. You've got Imminent Bliss, for whom we've discussed, part of that Saratoga Challenge. You can check that out on the West Point Thoroughbreds website if you want to become a West Point member and get involved. Independence Avenue. This horse is entered to run in 2 days on the 17th, 5.5 furlong turf main special weight at Colonial, 2-1 on the morning line. This is race 3. She's got post 3. This is a Mr. Speaker filly out of Off the Road, who was champion 2-year-old filly in Brazil for Arnaud Delacour.
Yep. David and Gordo bought her at the June sale for us. David and West Point, we worked together since 2017. He was the identifier and the driving force behind the partnership that came together for Flightline. So, he called me. I said, I got a really nice Mr. Speaker that's not going to cost a lot of money. So I said, we're in, and she's acted like she can run quite a bit for Arno. So we're excited to see her.
She looks fast. But Mr. Speaker gives you some stamina too. I mean, it's like, look at that. She's all muscled out. And David, one of, if not the best eye in the game, in addition to Flightline, Zenyatta for $60,000. That's one of my favorite stories where you said when the hammer dropped and you got her for 60, you had to go make sure you bought the right horse.
Yeah. He's a, what do they call him? Savant.
Yes.
He just has such a great feel, and he's the first one in the locker room, and he's the last one to leave the locker room, if you will, and works amazingly hard. So it's a privilege to have him on the team.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw Indispensable there working. This is another one with Cherie DeVoe. Cherie herself, she's like a horse whisperer. I'll tell you, she's somebody who can really work a horse out, not only physically, but mentally, and just kind of get to why they may behave in a certain way, what she can do, what adjustments can be made to bring out the very best in them. She is yet to start, but this is a daughter of Upstart out of Glinda. The mom is a Have to Arrest Me Red, and the family includes Grade 1 winners Spun to Run, Daher, and Constellation. So another really well-bred filly here. Yep.
And I agree. We got together. Obviously, David and Cherie are a couple. They're married. And it's a very dynamic union, to say the least. And, her stable has grown, and, she's going to be a force, and she's a rising star. If you can even call her a rising star anymore, she's a star. Right? So does a great job, and her horses, you can tell. I mean, sometimes trainers will have horses that run well, but when they look as good as those horses do, and you've been around a little while, so you can tell. Great caretaker, great team, and just great exercise riders and the like. So really excited to continue our our union with the Sherry DeVoe operation.
Well, another one with her that you have is Legalized. With Christoph, you have Lady Bonner. That one, the grandmother is Meridiana. She won the Italian Oaks, daughter of Munnings. Legalized by Constitution now of Ellie Marie. That's a colt there again with Cherie. And there, the grandmother is Kentucky Oaks winner Summerly. You have a Looking at Lucky colt with Steve Asmussen out of Caribbean Lady. You've got Lost in the Sauce. That one's yet to start. Also, Bolt Doro out of Saratoga Summer with Greg Foley at Churchill. Metro. I have a video of Metro jogging. This is a quality road colt out of True Feelings. This is a family of Wait a While and Looking at Lucky with John Sadler out there at Del Mar.
Yeah. So Metro was a sale topper last year at Keeneland. Just took a little while to get going.
2.5?
2.5. Our partner, Mike Talla, a great partner. So just took a little while to get going. And
he's beautiful though. Eh?
Big, beautiful horse, and has the look of a good quality road. So he's not that far. He's ready to really ratchet up things, and I think he's probably a mid fall type of horse, and super excited. How can you not be with that kind of pedigree and the physical with a horse like that?
And that type of bounce. Do you see the bounce? He's got the bounce. You love it, right? Metro, again, the quality road colt. Misenchanted. Maximum Mischief is off to a pretty good start at stud, I would say.
Yes. We liked him. I actually, I thought he was, when they did the TDN, they did the sleeper of the year. I picked him because we had seen several of them at the 2-year-old sales, which you'd expect. He was a good horse. He was an early horse. Butch Reed did a really good job. Unfortunately, he got hurt at the beginning of his 3-year-old year, but the Reeds they're mainstays at Parks, and they've been longtime friends. So I was really glad to see him get off to a pretty good start to his stud career.
And this one's out of Aaron Enchanted. The family includes Sir Harry Lewis, who won the Irish Derby. This filly is with Dale Romans. Your daughter, and I got to say, I already liked her tons. But after Flightline won the Classic, my respect for her went to a whole new level, because I remember this. I had my video camera out. Because I was recording people's reactions. Y'all were filtering through after he crossed the finish line. She stopped walking with you all, and she came up to me and Matt. And I saw my camera rolling because I thought, I was going to say congratulations. She was crying because she was more concerned with Epicenter, who had to pull up, thankfully okay.
Yeah.
But she was so upset about what had happened to him that she didn't even care to keep going on with you all, because she just wanted to know what had happened, and we didn't know what had happened because we didn't even realize anything had occurred ourselves at the time. But my respect for her just went up even higher because of that.
Yeah, she's a great teammate for everybody, and it's not easy to be the boss's daughter, but she's handled that with aplomb, and I'm even more proud of her as a woman, and my daughter. So it's all good there.
Well, do you ever marvel? And I know I'm keeping your time. I'm so sorry. I'll try to speed up, but I do have to ask you, considering that as you mentioned before, you married your high school sweetheart. Do you all have any idea when you started the family, it was going to really become the family business? This is the horses are life, right?
Yeah, they are. And that's Erin was on a horse when she was 3 years old. So certainly that anybody that knows her, but anybody that knows any young woman, especially, and that has stayed in the business, that's what you would expect to be concerned about that epicenter situation. And she's developed a really, really close relationship with Steve Asmussen, and they've been buddies for over 20 years. So you wouldn't expect anything else from people that love horses. Well, again, tremendous horsemanship all the way around. You have so many nice horses. We just saw Sands of War. I know she ended up finishing last. That was a really good debut, though, I thought, at Saratoga, because she was the speed. So who cares where she finished at the end of that? That was an 8.5 furlong
turf race also. So to go 8.5 at first asking, I thought was really impressive what she did. By Warfront, Mom's a have to justify. She's with Cherie. We've got Scatify. Somebody asked a question about Scatify here. This horse is part of the Del Mar Challenge. There we go. Scatify by Justify. How's your 2-year-old? This one's for the family. Discreetly Mine, Discreet Cat, all those horses.
Yeah, that we've always loved that family. That's a family that Ocala Stud has had. Who was the Rob Shims?
Yes.
They own that family, and so we
Todd trained like all of them.
Todd trained all of them, and as we speak, right, this horse is on his way out, way out to California. So we're excited to get him out there.
Very exciting. Let's see here. Let's talk about Sedona. This horse, $2 million by Curlin out of America, bred by Bobby Flay. America, daughter AP Indy. So you've got that cross. You've got that real potent cross we keep seeing over and over again recently of Curlin over AP Indy or one of his sons that just keeps popping up. Whether you're talking about Malathot or Cody's Wish is kind of in that same vein because of the being by Curlin out of a Tappet mare. I mean, we see this over and over. Clairiere is another example. So this one, $2 million again as a yearling at Fasig Tipton. The family beyond just that cross is incredible because it's the family of Blush with Pride. So you've got Chimes of Freedom, Rags to Riches, Jazzle, Peeping Fawn. You've got War of Will as part of that. The Way You Are, and now we can add Archangelo to the mix. So what do you like or expect from this filly? She's with Shug.
Yeah, she really showed a ton of talent, right? Dr. Eisman, Barry broke her in Ocala at his farm, and she came up awful early to Shug, and was probably going to start at Belmont right before we came to Saratoga. Just came up with a little flake in an ankle, and Patty Hogan popped the chip out, and there's a good chance she'll start at towards the end of the year, the first part of 2024. But a big, lovely filly who showed a really, really significant amount of talent. So we're excited. Obviously, she costs a lot of money. That family's active and it's improving seemingly every year. So they're the kind of foundation mares that when we're done with her racing career, she could be at the center of quite a few families going forward for generations.
I mean, she is a picture. This filly is beautiful. I mean, all the horses are beautiful, but I just love the shorter cannon bones. But yeah, she's got the long forearms, the deep girth, the laid back shoulders. She's got a strong hip. She's so well balanced too. I'm thrilled that you picked her up. You're giving her the time that she's asking you for. Have you stayed in connection with Bobby Flay at all regarding her?
Yes. Yeah. So. Obviously Bobby's been in the business a long time, and it's cool and to be partners with him. But one thing I've always said is when he comes up to Saratoga, he wants to be like a racehorse owner. He doesn't want to be Bobby Flay,
right,
a racehorse owner and famous. I think this is one place where he's able to be as close to Bobby Flay, the normal guy, as possible, which isn't easy, but I know he really enjoys his time up here.
No, she is absolutely stunning. She looks every bit of $2 million. So let's see here. Sense of Pearl. This is another really well-bred. They're all really well-bred. What am I saying? I mean, she's yet to start. Granny's a sister to Champion and Oaks winner Proud Spell. She's with Steve Asmussen. She's by Street Sense. Is she nearing a debut at all?
She's done a little well. She'll be in the middle of the fall.
Oh,
that's what we're thinking about.
Okay. Shore Road. You have to start by Gun Runner.
Getting
John
ready to
Sadler
start out for John. Should be right before the end of the meet, and will be right before the end of the meet at Del Mar. Actually, he's got talent to compete on that circuit for sure.
Love it. You got Slapshot. This one's yet to start. He's with Christophe Clement, but he's from the family of Quino, who is trained by Shug.
Yes.
I just had to put that out there.
Right, they're very competitive. They're stable right next to each other, but they're good friends.
This one by
We like
Nyquist.
Nyquist, and Nyquist. He's been solid. He really
Yeah.
has. He's been he's stayed around around a long time. From the time he started at Darley. So I mean, he's proven he can get you a good horse. So we're hoping this one is one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I mentioned it before when we were talking about Sedona. I know we talked about off camera, but Sedona, I should also mention, if I didn't, full sister to First Captain, who you guys campaign, obviously. So let's go ahead here. Slider. This horse was second on debut at Del Mar in a 5.5 furlong maiden special weight. He got the lead, and they just tired. He couldn't hold off the horse who ended up winning. Son of Jimmy Creed. Out of days like this, he's with John also.
Yep. We bought him at the 2-year-old sale as well. We liked him. We've always been attracted to the Jimmy Creeds. We thought we think he's a little bit of an underrated stallion. He's got Casa Creed, who won the Grade 1 the other day. I was sitting next to Ned Toffee from Spendthrift. Yeah. So anyway, ran a big number. We weren't going to contain the Windstar colt that won that day, but we did all the dirty work. So he's got to take a step forward, and if he does, he'll be a stake horse out there.
For sure. And no, Frankie Wagner, I've not forgotten about you. He's got a question for you. We're going to get to it in just a sec. You've got Soho, which I think is a clever name because she's by City of Light out of Carrie Bell, who was a Grade 3 winner, won the Megahertz Stakes with John Sadler. Stars in six strings by Good Magic.
Strange, yep.
Yeah. Thank you. By Good Magic got a star in the quarter with Brad Cox.
Yeah.
Stop the Press, $1.5 million yearling by Uncle Mo out of Secret Sai. She is a half to multiple Grade 1 winner in Japan, Mozu Ascot. It's the family to honor and serve. Angela Renee and Rahi's attorney. This cross is very similar to Flightline, of course, because Flightline was by Tappet and his mom by Indian Charlie. This one is by Indian Charlie's champion son, Uncle Mo, and out of a Tappet mare. I like the flip.
I do too. Jane Lyon.
Yes.
She is one of the most special breeding programs in the game. There's not a whole lot of quantity there, but there's an abundance of quality. And she just has proven year after year that she comes with runners. So we're very confident when we saw a horse like this, and so we jumped in with the Woodford boys. So Jane Lyon, she actually stayed in for a piece of this colt in a very similar fashion, like she stayed in on a piece of Flightline.
I love it.
Right, he'll make his first start on September 3rd, going 7/8 for Shug McGahee.
That's so exciting. But as you said, Jane, all class, just in her horses, so it's no surprise her horses are as well. And of course, having bred Flightline. It's fun to have that together. And the Woodford, the racing operation of Lane's End. Yeah,
and they're like a lot of them are good friends with
Bill,
Bill, and you got Ben Hagen, who does a really good job, and Will Ferris III is also coming onto the scene, and he's getting exposed
he's a star,
every part he is, and I think he's a rising star in the business, and not only because his name is Ferris, but got a lot of talent. He's got good intuition, and he's really a pleasant and a fun person to be around. So he's got all the tools. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Stretch Ride. This is one with Dale Romans by Street Sense. Yet to start. Great Granny's Grade 1 winner. Fleet. Sunday Tip by Connect. Yet to start. This one's with Tom Morley. Stage Directions. The Dam. Here's the family of Golden Ballet and Drosselmeyer. Plenty of stamina in there. The Process. Now the Process and another one on the roster you have here is, oh gosh, Zverev,
Zverev.
Zverev, both with Belladonna Racing. Both of these boys are out of half sisters to Zenyatta. The process is out of a Blue Assault, who has already produced Confidence Game, who won the Rebel. And then Zverev is out of Balance, multiple grade 1 winning sister of Zenyatta. Obviously got overshadowed by her big sister. But these are both beautiful colts. I mean, they look like quarterbacks, especially the process is huge. He's black. Another Jane Lyon bred horse, I believe.
Yes. Really, really happy with those two. Zverev, who's up here at Saratoga, is not that way from his debut and Oscar Performance. I mean, how could that stay and not grab your attention? They're running on dirt, they're running on turf, and
Anything.
I know folks over at Mill Ridge, whenever you bring up Oscar Performance, you couldn't wipe the smile off their faces, and rightly so. They've done a great job. They got the right mares into him, and I know he's a horse that is on everybody's radar. So it's good. They've got a shot.
Well, this one is Zverev right here. Both of these colts are with Cherie DeVoe. He just looks so strong. And then let's go ahead and look at, from, I believe, a height standpoint, in addition to the muscle, is going to be our boy here, The Process. And we'll pull that one up. And I mean, they're both hunks. Different body types, both like different sizes, different body types, but both hunks.
Yeah. Right. You mentioned a little bit earlier, right? More Than Ready. They're this is his final model.
Yes.
Or
limited
group
edition
of horses. And
yeah.
I remember. I mean, basically, we were really early, and this Catorcio's at Monmouth Park, and he was a very early Todd Pletcher success story. So, I've always been a big fan of his, and he's made a mark on the breed, certainly for a lot of years, and will for a lot of years as well.
And he also, I believe, still maintains the record for most wins in the Breeders' Cup from his progeny.
Yes.
So that's always
they've
fun.
Been very good.
Absolutely. So we already mentioned trackers. You have to start. Son of Curlin out of Gomo, who won the Darley Alcibiades. Ticket sales went the tickets went on sale today for Keeneland. Everything seems to be sold out.
Yeah, they're just, obviously they've done a great job.
Yes.
At Keeneland, and it just becomes better and better. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this, sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate the fact, like they've got new energy, and not nothing against the old management, but you look at the new team, like every once in a while you gotta get a new team in there, and I hope my time when we reach that time at the company is still a little bit into the future, but it's inevitable. It's a cycle of life, and I think the changes that they've made, man, has really shown that the benefit of those changes have been very clear and a lot quicker than anybody thought. So kudos to them.
Yeah, and going back to the reason I even said Keeneland, because the mom won the Darley Alcibiades. Tracker, though, is at Del Mar with John Sadler. This another horse with Cherie's Barbados, named after a clothing company, is what David tells me, because he's fashionable. I don't know.
We'll let David think that, right? We'll just keep that between you and I.
This one's by Medaglia d'Oro out of River Maid, who is sovereign champion female sprinter. And then very practical, another practical joke. This one's a half to Maftoul out of With Intention. She's with Shug. And then Wimberley is going to be the last one to mention here. By Curlin out of Dream Tree, who won the Grade 1 Starlet. She's with John.
Yep. Coming right along, probably is a mid-fall type of horse. So I hope you want me on a little bit later on in the fall when we're talking about a bunch of 2-year-old starters. But it's an exciting class, and thank you to all the trainers and the people that are working with these horses. But the partners, obviously we have a lot of partners, but it's a lot of fun. we got a lot of bullets, right? Let's see
I
how
know.
if we can shoot them straight and we can keep them on the straight and narrow, and we can be effective. But God, I'm excited, and I
You
know
should
everybody
be.
is.
You
Yeah.
should be. And here's how we're going to wrap things up, because I've monopolized your time, but I did promise a few people I'd get to their questions. And then I would like you to end things by telling us about this position to which you have been elected as part of the board of stewards for the Jockey Club. So first, here is Frankie Wagner. He says, "Hi, Terry. Always curious about how you go about which trainers get which horses when you have that many horses."
Yeah, Frankie. So there's no real science to it. It's more of an art. You know, if you have a New York bred, you know you're probably not going to go to the West Coast or the Midwest. You're going to try to focus on there, and you spread them out, and you try to be fair. We're all a team. We're all pulling in the same direction. So all of our trainers, I think most trainers now, they realize you better be a partnership person. You better be a partnership trainer and know how to act. So it all comes down to that. And, you know, there are some that get hot and others that have been cool. And we try not to penalize people because we know it's a cyclical thing. So if they're on our team, they're on our team. We're going to do everything we can to support them and to distribute our horses amongst all of our trainers.
Yes. Richard, awesome gem ran in 4 Breeders' Cups. You had great horses like Decorated Invader. I love him still. A Northern Invader, Sail of Fits, and Always Dreaming. Would you say Flightline is your favorite? And what did you end up selling him for? I saw a share sold for $4.6 million. Thanks. Well,
yeah,
I'll leave it all to you.
Yeah, the great thing is well, I brought a smile to my face reading all those horses. We've had a lot of horses. Not all of them are as good. Actually, most of them are not as good as we would like them to be. But when you get a good one, they really impact your lives.
Mm-hmm.
When you get one with Flightline, he changes your life. And the beautiful thing is we didn't sell him. We kept him in-house, so he stands at Lane's End. All of our partners stayed in. So, you know, he generated just over 30 million from the middle of February to the middle of June. So our partners will have that revenue once those foals are born in 2024, and so they'll get their pro rata share. And so it's a unique situation. I don't think it's ever been done before. We got a huge offer in the middle of his career. Not everybody wanted to sell, so we didn't. And obviously, it turned out to be the right thing. Right? Not all the time that you don't sell. There are plenty of times that you regret not selling, but this certainly wasn't the case. So he's been the most impactful, certainly, and he was a brilliant horse, and I think he inspired a lot of people in the horse business that dreams do come true.
Was it hard for you to retire him, or I know it's like a double-edged sword. On the one, you're like, he's done everything, he's done enough, he can't prove anything more for us.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, it kind of gets fun to think. I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think one of the mares bred to him is American Pharoah's mom, little Princess Emma. Am I right?
Yeah, Jane Lyon, absolutely. She supported him. We supported him. We put together a big group, a partnership. I think we bred 6 mares to him. So amazing. He bred 152 mares. I think he ended up with 141 in full. So he was very prolific in the shed. And so yeah, it was tough to see him because the anticipation and just that was as cool of a ride as you could go on. But you knew at some point it was going to end. And John Sadler, when I saw him at the sale in March, I hadn't seen him since the November before, and he literally looked 20 years younger. So I was glad of that. The pressure on John and his staff especially was immense because they knew what they had fairly early, and they had a generational talent. And you just can't say enough about him. And I know there's a band of trainers that truly deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm glad that a trainer like John Sadler is in that tranche. We'll let the system play out and I don't like to say he deserves, because there are other people that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but he certainly deserves to be amongst the group that is mentioned about the next wave that goes in the Hall of Fame. I'll leave it at that.
Was there any special personal moment you had with Flightline yourself that was away from the cameras? That I ask this of people usually who've been around a horse like that. Like I asked David, did he have a moment with Zenyatta, for example, that was away from the cameras that he didn't mind sharing? Did you have anything with Flightline?
Probably not necessarily, but I get emotional, and just like he certainly brought more emotion out from people than a lot of other horses. But I was just kind of laughing. We were on the track at the Pacific Classic, and Bill Farish and I think Costa, and they interviewed Bill, and he choked up. He could barely talk. He got so emotional. And I said, what would you have given if you could bet what would the odds have been that Terry Finley wasn't as emotional as Bill Farish after the Pacific Classic? And that was a very special weekend when that happened. So look, he was brilliant, and but he was a cool horse, and he just one of the things I'll never forget is, those mornings as we led up to the Breeders' Cup, and what it was like at 5:30 in the morning when he came around and they had the flashing light on Juan, John's assistant, Juan Leyva. You just couldn't imagine the memories that are imprinted in all of our minds.
Unbelievable. It really is. And that was a moment that I remember. I was at a Mexican restaurant next to our hotel. We were down for Kentucky Downs. It was me, Matt, Kate, and Bradar. I think Ava was asleep on my lap, Larry Colmus, and we watched the Pacific Classic on my phone. And our jaws just dropped. And it took a minute for us all to pick them back up. But the one thing I will say, and then we'll close it out with the Jockey Club, I just can't help but to think it all could have possibly hinged, no pun intended, but maybe a little bit, that hindquarter injury. Could you imagine what we might have missed out on? Boggles your mind.
I do. But if you look at his works early, you saw, he needed some time, and Juan Leyva.
He gave you that then, right?
Yes. And we don't get to the point we got to without Juan Leyva. He was on him every single day. And, you just don't change a horse like that. It was the little pebbles every day that were input into the sandbox. And so, yes, it is crazy to think he could have been, a Triple Crown winner. His whole, his image still would have been great as it was, but that would have really done something even more for him. But everything worked out in the wash.
No, for sure. I'm just glad it didn't take him out. And guys, when I say hind injury, it wasn't an injury from himself. Like he got hooked on like a nail or something and he tore up his butt. So thank goodness he didn't tear it up to a point that it would have been bad and we couldn't have watched him run at all. So now to close it out, one of the things that I think is so great when we do have such a wonderful ambassador like Terry Finley in our sport is that he is now as part of the Jockey Club's Board of Stewards. So to close things out, what does this mean for you? Like what type of impact can you have in this role? And what do you want to do with this role?
Yep. Well, it's a great honor, very humbling when you look at the Board of Stewards and the members that have been named, elected to the Board of Stewards. It's a very august group. Yes. So putting that aside, it's not about me. It's about the organization and really about the industry. And I believe I am the first partnership manager, if you will, ever elected to the Board of Stewards. I'm on the ground. I'm talking to people. I'm talking to trainers. Obviously, there's a link between HISA and the Jockey Club. Now, they're independent and they have their own leadership and their executives, but certainly the Jockey Club is part of the direction of our industry. And look, I understand not everybody has a super high opinion of the Jockey Club, like some parts of that are I understand, but other parts, when you look at the scope and the depth and the breadth of what the Jockey Club does day in and day out with
Oh, yeah.
the scope of the technology companies and the registry and the thought leadership. And, while it's not perfect, HISA, I've been a big fan since very early. HISA is not in play at all without the investment of time, talent, and treasure by the Jockey Club. And so I just ask people, give it a shot. Right? Lisa Lazarus is a world-class executive. She's got a world-class team. To think that we were going to take a fragmented and a disjointed system of 38 different states that were trying their best to regulate our great game and put it all under one roof and have everything just snap into place. I think that was unreasonable. We're seeing some problems, but we're also seeing the ability of the horsemen to talk right directly to the top, and that's never been done before. We've never had an opportunity as horsemen, if people who work in the business, who are passionate about the business and who know and have ideas. She has never turned down a speaking engagement. She's gone into hostile territory, if you will. She's answered every question. She's got back to people. It's like, some of her detractors, you don't see them everywhere. They seem to be confined to friendly confines.
Oh.
And I'll offer that to you. So, well, we're not going to go there. But listen, I think it's providence that everything's come together, and we have a shot to just get the safety in our game to the highest level ever, and the integrity side of our game at the highest level ever. And I just think that's great. I say to the detractors, work with it. This is what we have. There hasn't been a truly viable alternative, even though some of the people, the organizations, have propagated, quote unquote, a better solution. You ask them and they talk about another bill to replace HISA. I said, well, can I take a look at it? And they say it's not done yet. So basically HISA is where it's at. And the more and the quicker we can come and support HISA, we're going to get the kinks worked out. And, I'll leave you with this. There's not an owner or trainer or person in the industry that hasn't had their head picked up and very much the message imprinted in their mind that there's a new sheriff in town and we need to get our act together. And the people that were at the line or over the line and taking the edges, they know that their time is limited because we have a sophisticated and an effective offense against them. We've never had that before. And I think better times are ahead for our business as a result.
Well, I pray that is the case. And I got to say, I'm echoing Richard. Thank you for taking your time, Mr. Finley. Good luck and God bless. Thank you so much for your time, for your stewardship in racing, for your service to our country. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and you are always welcome on this show. And I root for these 2-year-olds, so we have a big one to talk or more to talk about going forward. And again, everybody, this has been your Future Stars forecast on a 2-year-old Tuesday. Special guest, Terry Finley, CEO, founder of West Point Thoroughbreds. And if you want to reach out, West Point Thoroughbreds, their website is so comprehensive if you want to learn more about the ownership game. And so I'll leave it at that. Everybody, Terry, actually, one quick more question. Is there anything else you want to say? I know that was your closing salvo, but regarding West Point specifically.
No, I just want to say thank you very much. And I want you to keep up the great work because you do a great service. You do great work for the industry.
I really appreciate that so much. And again, I want you back on this show and soon. So everybody, I'll see you next week. I don't know who the guest is yet, but check out West Point Thoroughbreds online. You can't go wrong. The full roster is right there. Check them out, even if for your handicapping purposes. Again, your Future Stars forecast. Check you next week.